Okay, here we go. Get ready to turn left. Turn left. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left. This is where it ends.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is John Tapp with the Mack Anthem on this beginning of the Prime Month. Uh, we're going to start with Cheyenne, Wyoming, and this is going to be a good morning with that. And I don't know if there any lunch break on that. So let's go get the waste paper and get going.
Let's do this. Turn left. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left. Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right.
This programming is sponsored by Pearland, Texas, offering new construction with custom options and amenities, mature neighborhoods filled with
Caution,
trees,
please
and
mind
urban
speed.
living. Details at pearlandedc.com/inspiration. Pearland, inspiration lives here.
Institutions in the press in this country besides the New York Times. And those institutions were the Los Angeles Times, which is now in a terrible state, Time magazine, which has practically disappeared or is in the process of it, I'm afraid, the Washington Post, which is going through its own drama with Jeff Bezos, and CBS News.
Well, you had a good word there, in my opinion. Fragility. Here's the pain in my heart. The pain in my heart is that the public does not appreciate the importance of a free and strong and tough press in our democracy. That we have a function to fulfill, and that the public doesn't seem to want what we do to be part of our public life.
And the dilemma is that most of these places that I named, the New York Times is an exception, but for most of these owners, the organ of the press that they own is small change compared to Disney under ABC.
Go straight on. Go straight on. Go straight on.
This programming is sponsored by the Grand 1894 Opera House in Galveston, presenting Writers in the Sky, featuring America's cowboys and their Western wit, Saturday, June 7th at 8 p.m. More information at thegrand.com.
Things really are looking quite bad. And what I noticed, though, that as things are getting worse, people are getting organized too. And what it seems to me now is needed is some kind of coalescence. I often quote this Russian writer. He's a Russian sort of social historian, I guess you'd say. His name is Sergei Yurchak. He says, revolutions happen in two phases. The first is when somebody realizes that everything is not working. The second is when they realize that everybody else realizes the same thing. And that's the important moment. The important moment is when you suddenly realize that you all agree that it's... Sorry. So I think we're reaching that point now.
I did want to just sort of briefly return to the book before we move on, which for me exists in kind of a lovely dialogue, I think, with Oblique Strategies, which is a set of cards you made with Peter Schmidt in 1975. And it is quite literally a box of cards, each printed with an aphorism of some sort designed to help artists move through a creative challenge. You know, I have found you can kind of use them almost as like a tarot deck. And, you know, this morning I pulled the one that said, give way to your worst impulse, which I am doing. My worst impulse is to ask you very long questions that sort of trail off at the end. And I'm curious for you if you see the book and the cards as part of the same project, by which I mean the kind of project of setting people free.
You know, I think you're the first person who's connected the two projects, and they are connected in my mind. I think what I'm really interested in is doing something that helps people. And I didn't want it to be technical, just another art. If you want another art book, there's plenty of them. Internalize. For instance, this notion of play that runs through the book. We all understand that children learn through playing. So I thought, what happens to the play impulse in people? And I suddenly had this flash. Play is how children learn. Art is how adults play. In fact, when we go to the theater, when we read a novel, when we go to a gallery, when we watch a dance, I think we're learning about important things when we do those things. And we're still playing, actually. We just give that kind of playing a different name. We call it art. It's a sort of simulator. You know, the reason you have flight simulators is because you want to be able to crash. And I think art is very often a simulator in that way. You can experience what an unhappy marriage is like by reading about it without having to have an unhappy marriage. You can experience, you know, the terror in
Go straight on.
revolutionary France without having to have your head chopped off. If you can, do it first in art and then give it a try in real life.
Yes, that's maybe the best advice of all. I did want to talk to you about the two new records, Luminal and Lateral, that you made with Beatty Wolf. You've described Luminal as dream music and Lateral as space music, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about that distinction.
Okay, so I'll tell you first of all the kind of physical difference between the two records. The first one, Luminal, is a group of songs. The second one, Lateral, is a single long piece. It's more like a space, as I always think about with ambient music. It's a place that you go to. I like to think of these pieces of music as feelings that you go into. I noticed that when I want to sit down to write, for example, I wanted to listen to something, but nothing seemed to be right. I wanted something that was just a nice sonic condition. In the same way, perhaps, that you might adjust the lighting in a room. What's the musical equivalent of that? What would a music be that was like that? And on the first ambient record, the first record that I called ambient, I said the music should be as ignorable as it is interesting. So I want to make a kind of music that you could surrender to or ignore. And when you ignored it, it shouldn't demand your attention.
When you're collaborating with someone else, when you're collaborating with BD on this record, you do this often, of course, in your career as a producer. Is there a way in which you can kind of reliably create an environment that more effectively leads to or suggests surrender, that kind of accelerates intimacy in a way that makes it easier for people to open up to each other?
I think there is, and I think it lies in the particular nature of sound that you're working with. From the 20th century onwards, we have a huge palette, new ways of making sound that produce new types of sound that nobody ever heard before. And so I think a lot of composition now is an experiment with trying to digest all of those new sonic possibilities. If you think, for instance, about the other pole of ambient music, I always think is heavy metal. So it's another form of immersive music. It's, of course, in terms of feeling, quite different from ambient music generally. But I still think it is a kind of ambient music. It's a bath of sound. I've seen heavy metal music being recorded, so I can tell you this. What really matters is the exact texture of sound, the exact type of distortion, the exact type of compression. I think that's very much what ambient music was built on, the notion that there was this new way of composing.
When I received the records, they included a list of feelings that inspired you and BD, and some of them were words I didn't know from languages I don't speak, and I found many of them overwhelmingly beautiful, in part because they are complicated. Like onsra, which is a Boro word for a kind of doomed love, or the Arabic word ya'aburni, which you define as not wanting to live in a world without someone. These are words that do sort of attempt maybe to kind of contain the complexity of human experience.
There's a nice German one, it's probably my favorite, and something I think I feel quite often, which is called Torschlusspanik, which means door shutting panic. So it's that feeling you've got that you're trying to get something done and the door is closing and you're not going to get there quite in time to ever do it. It's a terrible feeling.
It's a good brutal. Well, this leads me to ask, are there some feelings that are more easily evoked by sound? I mean, we know, anger is a big one. Are there any feelings that are maybe particularly difficult to tap into? On that end, I think contentment or boredom are maybe a little bit harder to translate into sound than rage or lust.
The feelings that I think are very, very easy to locate in sound are sort of melancholy and the sparkle of new life. I often hear those things in sound. I have never yet, I don't think, heard anything that captured the feeling of boredom. And I'm disappointed in that, because there's a great line in the Tibetan leader Chogyam Trungpa's book where he said we should rush forward into boredom and disappointment. And I've tried to do that, but I don't think I've succeeded yet. I like this idea that those might be places where you can learn something unique. I do think boredom is very important. If you keep getting boredom out of the way by distracting yourself with Wordle or whatever else you distract yourself with, you lose the possibility of your threshold of interest falling so low that you can notice a tiny thing.
I love
and
that.
Suddenly,
and boredom feels like a kind of endangered resource. But I think you're right. It is such a generative experience if you can surrender to it.
I try to do things because I want to do them, not because they're just a little tiny bit better than sitting looking at the wall. I really try to now just sit and look at the wall. If you don't provide input, what happens? If you want things to come up from inside you, all of the accumulated knowledge and information and experience that you have, if you want that to manifest itself, you have to stop trying to stuff more stuff in at that moment. You have to give it space to come up. You can't do both things at once, I think.
Speaking of restricting our inputs, I wanted to ask you about the decision to stop traveling by airplane as a form of climate protest. Can you talk a little bit more about that choice?
It wasn't an absolute choice. So since I made that decision, which was about 7 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago, I've taken 4 plane journeys. So I suddenly feel I've been liberated from ever having to go to airports again.
This is, of course, ironic coming from
music for airports.
Author,
yes.
Music for airports, yes.
I know, but more importantly, I feel that all of us could make a lot less flights. It's not such a hard decision to make in Europe. It would be harder in America, I think. I mean, it's a very personal decision, and I can't, in all honesty, say to everybody else, you should stop flying, because people have different lives and different needs, but I can stop flying pretty much all of the time. I don't have to fly very often at all.
Is there a particular place or perhaps places that you miss or things that have maybe made the choice challenging to uphold?
And then exit right.
Well, America. I mean, I lived in America for a while, and I have some good friends in America. And also, there are places I've never been. I've never been to India. So, yeah, there's a lot of the world I'd like to see, but there's all sorts of things I've missed in my life, and I don't really worry too much about that fact.
I'm curious if you try to sort of keep, in terms of your climate activism, if it's a balance in terms of allowing it to kind of manifest in your creative work. It's present in the music you make, and then also present in your personal life and, you know, choices about travel or sort of how you live, how your house is set up. Do you try to keep those two things in balance?
Well, one of the themes of my work, I think, is economy. Is trying to see how much you can do with how little. And I really like that feeling. I've been working with B.T. Wolf, and we've just used one guitar. And I always love that challenge of saying, let's just accept what is here at the moment and make the best of it. I'm not the kind of person who thinks I'm not going to work in any studio that doesn't have 16 ancient compressors and 14 fabulous old German microphones and so on. I just don't think like that. I always think that every moment in your life is a unique set of circumstances, unique both in what it has and in what it lacks. And if you make your work out of the moments in your life, then every piece of music will be different. Everything comes from a different place. I reject the idea that you have to standardize the working conditions before you can do any work. I often listen back to things that I've done in the past, and I think I have no idea how I did that. I listened to an old song of mine the other day, and I realized there was a quite complicated set of similar sounds that went through the song in a particular rhythm. Now, I know that I didn't consciously put them there, but somehow or other those patterns appear. Now, I don't think they originated from God. I think they originated from somewhere in me, which led me to wonder, is it somewhere in me that people call God? Is God a name for those inaccessible or unknown parts of yourself that do things, that make decisions that you don't even know about, that the conscious part of your mind doesn't know about? Anyway, that's rather a long question for a program like this.
Brian, I just want to thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been so wonderful talking with you. I appreciate it deeply.
Thank you very much, Amanda. It's been a real pleasure meeting you as well. I hope there's another chance that we can do that sometime.
The New Yorker's Amanda Petrusich speaking with Brian Eno. Eno's new records in collaboration with B.D. Wolf are called Luminal and Lateral. And if you're interested in Eno's work, a terrific documentary came out last year simply called Eno.
Never mind.
I'm David
I'll
Remnick.
find a
That's
new
the New
route.
Yorker Radio Hour for today. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
The New Yorker Radio Hour is a co-production of WNYC Studios and The New Yorker. Our theme music was composed and performed by Merrill Garbus of Tune Yards, with additional music by Louis Mitchell.
We had additional help this week from John DeLore.
The New Yorker Radio Hour is supported in part by the Chirina Endowment Fund.
Keep left.
Houston Public Media brings to you PBS World. Experience the personal connection behind the headlines with programming devoted to telling stories that humanize complex issues. PBS World on TV 8.6 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, it's a live event on the food of Iowa. Bakers, chefs, restaurateurs,
Keep left.
and maybe most importantly, farmers, all with surprising stories that may change how you think about the food of the heartland. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
You can catch The Splendid Table every Sunday at 12 noon here on your NPR station, News 88.7.
This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, the service of the University of Houston. Get local and breaking news anytime at houstonpublicmedia.org. Listen to us on your favorite devices. Tell your smart speaker to play News 88.7.
From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz.
Air travel has always been expensive. Now it's even more unpredictable. But don't worry, soon it's going to get way more uncomfortable, too. We'll ask about this latest innovation in airborne degradation. Plus, Boston Red Sox Hall of Famer Jim Rice comes on to explain exactly how the Yankees sucked back in his day. And Bill Curtis, a founding member of the Anchorman Hall of Fame, asks the only question he has left unanswered.
Am I hot or not?
We'll ask who wants to know and who's going to tell them on our quiz that comes up right after this hour's news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Robb. Millions of Americans are under a health alert this weekend because of compromised air quality. It's being caused by out-of-control wildfires in the Canadian province of Manitoba. NPR's Alana Wise reports that thick, billowing clouds of smoke have swept through at least 3 northern states.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota have all issued air quality alerts for their residents. This comes as 17,000 Manitobans have been forced to flee their homes as dangerous fires cut through the province's prized wildlands. The evacuation effort is the largest in recent history for Manitoba. These fires come on the heels of 2 consecutive years of devastating wildfire seasons. In all 3 affected states, experts warn that the air quality is unsafe for people like children and the elderly. In Minnesota, which is projected to be the hardest hit, the air quality will be reduced to the point of danger for sensitive groups and some members of the general public. Alana Wise, NPR News.
A 3-judge appeals court panel has ruled the Trump administration can't continue its DOGE-fueled cuts to the federal government. From member station KQED in San Francisco, Brian Franz reports.
In a 2-1 decision, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against the Trump administration's request to lift an injunction from a federal district court judge, saying that resuming the mass firing of federal workers would have an irreparable effect. A coalition of unions, nonprofits, and local governments sued the Trump administration, asserting President Trump lacks the authority to remake the federal government. San Francisco is one of the plaintiffs. Here's City Attorney David Chu.
We're grateful for the ruling for recognizing the continuously disastrous harms that we are facing because of President Trump's complete disregard of the rule of law.
The Trump administration can appeal the panel's decision to the Supreme Court. For NPR News, I'm Brian Krantz.
Medics in Gaza say at least 31 Palestinians were killed and more than 200 wounded by Israeli tank fire near a new U.S.-sponsored aid distribution center in Rafah. The Israeli military says it's unaware of casualties caused by shelling there. Hamas says the attack shows the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites are death traps. BBC's Sebastian Usher says aid agencies agree.
They believe some of the chaos, some of the casualties that there have been over the past few days wouldn't necessarily have happened if they'd still been in control. Their criticism has been that aid agencies would have been involved in this distribution for years. Changing the system in such a time with people in such a desperate state is not conducive to the best outcome for Gazans themselves, and also that it has the potential of forcing Palestinians into smaller and smaller areas where the aid distribution is taking place.
The BBC's Sebastian Usher. This is NPR News in Washington. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said today he's sending a delegation to Istanbul tomorrow for a new round of direct peace talks with Russia. Ukraine earlier said Russia must provide a memorandum setting out its position on ending the war before a meeting could take place. Moscow says it will provide such a document at the meeting. Meanwhile, the war continues. The Ukrainian Air Force says Russia launched 472 drones over Ukraine overnight. The Indiana Pacers have clinched their spot in the NBA Finals after a Game 6 win over the New York Knicks. The Pacers won 125-108. They'll now face the Oklahoma City Thunder for the championship. NPR's Becky Sullivan reports.
The Pacers set the tone for this series with an improbable Game 1 comeback. Tight scores and shots beyond belief followed, with celebrities like Timothée Chalamet, Caitlin Clark, and Spike Lee watching from the sidelines. The Knicks took Game 3 with a comeback of their own, but then fell behind 3-1. On Saturday night in Indianapolis, New York hung close in the first half, but their turnovers caught up with them, 18 in all, and Indiana took advantage, led by stars Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton. In the finals, the Pacers will face the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder had one of the best regular seasons of all time. Neither Oklahoma City nor Indiana have ever won an NBA title. Game 1 is Wednesday. Becky Sullivan, NPR News.
In golf, the final round of the Women's U.S. Open Championship is underway near Milwaukee. 25-year-old Maya Stark holds a one-shot lead. I'm Nora Rahm, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Kauffman Foundation, providing access to opportunities that help people achieve financial stability, upward mobility, and economic prosperity, regardless of race, gender, or geography. Kauffman.org.
Support Houston Public Media by donating a vehicle you no longer need. We'll take it in any condition. It's free to you, easy to do, and it could mean hundreds of dollars in support. Visit HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars to learn more. Thanks.
Support comes from the Houston Symphony, concluding their classical season with Mahler's Third Symphony under music director Yuri Valchua, featuring mezzo-soprano Marina Prudenskaya, May 30th through June 1st. Tickets at HoustonSymphony.org.
The following program was taped in front of an audience of real live people.
From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. Do I smell clam chowder? No, it's just my rich and creamy voice. I'm Bill Curtis, and here is your host at the Box Center Wang Theater in Boston, Massachusetts, Peter Stegall.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Boston. It's great to be back. We have a great show for you today. Later on, we'll be joined by baseball legend Jim Rice. Yes, 50 years after he helped lead the Boston Red Sox to the World Series as a rookie, he now offers TV commentary on the current team. So just to be fair, we're going to have the Red Sox starting infield to join us to critique his performance after he plays Not My Job. But first, it is your turn to swing for the fences.
Go straight on.
Give us a call to play our games. The number is 1-888-WAIT-WAIT. That's 1-888-924-8924. Hi, you're on Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Hi, my name's Jennifer, and I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, we love it there.
finding a new
What do you
route.
do there?
I was the assistant director at a public library.
Yes, public librarians. The true badasses that we need. That's a great thing to do. You guys are under a lot of pressure, but I've never met a librarian who wilted under that kind of assault.
No, we've been pretty strong. It's all right.
Well, welcome to the show, Jennifer. Let me introduce you to our panel this week. First, she's a comedian headlining at the Lounge at the DC Improv July 11th to 13th. A proud Boston College graduate, it's Joelle Nicole Johnson.
Hey, Jennifer.
Next, he's the co-host of the hit podcast Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone and its new sister show, Dear Crinkle. It's Tufts alumni Adam Felber.
Hey, Jennifer.
And a comedian who will be performing at the Wilbur Theater in Boston on October 3rd and at the MGM National Harbor Casino on October 4th. Somebody who went to college in a less enlightened city. It's Maz Jobrani.
Hi, Jennifer.
So, Jennifer, welcome to the show. You, of course, are going to play Who's Bill this time. Bill Curtis, standing before us here, is going to read for you 3 quotations from the week's news. Your job, explain or identify just 2 of them. Do that, you will win our prize, the voice of anyone you might choose in your voicemail. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Here is your first quote.
I love a deal, but I'll pass on a leg workout at 40,000 feet.
That was a traveler responding to the news that airlines, after threatening it for years, are finally going to begin offering what cost-saving seating innovation next year?
Like the seats won't recline?
Oh, it's worse than that. Seats? Nobody said anything about sitting.
Okay, so they're standing?
Standing seats and airlines are coming, yes. Finally, a solution for that problem of spilling hot coffee in your lap on an airplane. No more laps. At first, this will be offered as an ultra-low budget option for people on short flights across Europe, and a lot of people, you know, won't mind standing for a little while to save $100 or more. And of course, no airplane flight has ever taken longer than it was supposed to, so no worries.
So what? Usually they get upset when you stand. They go sit.
Yes.
So now they're going to be like, stand.
Don't sit. Stand.
Stand.
Yes.
Stand. And then they police your angle. Sir, that's 90 degrees. Then 45, sir.
Just flight attendants coming up and down the aisle with a protractor. That'll be great.
What are they going to call the slots? Are they going to call them stands?
Oh, no. You know how these people work. These seats will be called Skyriders.
Skyriders.
Skywriding. Makes it sound like fun. It's like a roller coaster, except it lasts an hour. And if it does a thrilling loop-de-loop, you're in trouble. The idea is you have sort of a seat back and a seat belt, but instead of sitting down, you lean back and put some of your weight on a, quote, half-standing saddle-style perch. It's sort of like a padded bicycle seat.
Wow, you know, but people think it can't get worse than that, but they haven't experimented with stacking yet.
That's true.
My people would beg to disagree.
So they'll be called standing seats for taller people, crouching seats, in case of a rough landing, domino seats.
Wonder if you stood on one foot, if they'd give you a discount.
Turn right.
You're like, yeah, I'm taking up less space.
All right, here is your next quote.
Am I hot or not?
The Washington Post reports that people are
Get ready
asking
to
that
turn
age-old
right.
question to what new technology?
Turn right.
AI, ChatGPT.
Yes, ChatGPT. Apparently, people want the unvarnished truth about how they look, unaffected by things like kindness or empathy, so they're asking AI to tell them. These are all true. ChatGPT told one user who asked that they needed tooth whitening, another that their eyebrows were thinning, and another that they were, quote, a 5, but could go to a 7 with the help of makeup and fillers.
Jeez. I mean, if you really want to be told you're ugly, you just post that question on Instagram and...
That's true.
They'll tell you.
Yes. You don't even have to ask.
Real people will tell you.
Yeah. I don't need ChatGPT. My mother will tell me.
Keep left.
You know? My mother once told me I was gaining weight while I was eating pasta in Paris.
Really?
Yeah, I flew her there first class.
Wait a minute. You flew
My
Caution,
to
please
Paris,
mind the speed.
Yes.
first class.
Yes.
You get there, you go to some fabulous restaurant in some great Parisian neighborhood. It looks great. You ordered food, and she says,
Keep left.
You need to work
and
on
then
your
turn
weight.
left.
Oh, God.
And I was like, that's why you don't have any grandkids.
Turn left.
Here is your last quote.
It can give you the ick, but it won't make you sick.
That was the Washington Post on new research that finds a classic party foul actually doesn't spread germs. So when you're near the dip, it's okay to do what?
Double dip?
Double dip, yes! Researchers at Clemson University have found that double dipping your chip does introduce bacteria into the dip, but it is unlikely to make anyone else sick. So if you are annoyed by people standing there double dipping, just waiting until they double dip, you catch them, they stare right at you and say, Clemson says it's fine.
Chips are like a one-bite thing. Do you guys take multiple bites of your chips?
Well, yeah.
Really?
Sure.
Just finish it. Dip and eat.
But back then doesn't have any dip on. Exactly. So you have a little bite, and then you turn around in the dip that you were holding, and you were holding, you dip that in. Oh, yeah.
I live by a mantra, Peter.
Yes.
We cannot double dip if we don't kiss on the lips.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, further research, these Clemson guys apparently are on it. They showed that not all dips were equal. High acidity dips like salsa held less bacteria than low acidity dips like cheese. Good to know. Safest of all was the sour cream and bleach dip.
Yeah, that one's very sanitary.
You know, I mean, the Trump administration is cutting money from cancer research, but they're funding chip.
Oh, no, RFK Jr. asked for this specifically, because you know he's been doing it his whole life.
I am not going near a bowl that he dipped in, even single dip. So they tested all these dips. They dipped a chip in.
Dipped a chip in.
And they assumed that dips don't lie.
Yep.
Don't lie. I wonder, Clemson should ask ChatGPT if this is a good study. And see what ChatGPT says. Like, you need to lose weight.
Lay off the dip anyway.
You lay off the dip, dude.
Bill, how did Jennifer do in her quiz?
She did great. Got to give her 3 in a row.
Well done, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for playing, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This goes out to all the women in the world, especially her. You know, it don't even matter your age, don't even matter your color. You got to have it about y'all. This is for everybody that like things. Just listen to what I'm saying and do and take a chance. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip it, and you put your hand up on my hip.
Right now, panel, it is time for you to answer some questions about this week's news. Joelle, this fall, more and more colleges will be offering special instructional courses after finding the vast number of incoming students don't know how to do what?
Oh, right? Like penmanship?
Well, I'm going to give it to you because the answer is pretty much anything. They don't know how to do anything. So universities, more and more, are offering courses on basic life skills because their students don't have any. So they'll offer classes in things like how to pay rent and navigating a grocery store and how yellow should a pillow get before you worry.
I'm still working on that
The
one.
kids actually, they love this. They love this. One student in Toronto said, quote, I don't know how to change a tire. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to do a lot of things other than cooking, said the student, who almost certainly also doesn't know how to cook.
You know, this is important though, because like life skills, I wish I had gotten a class on taxes. We never got the tax class. We never got the mortgage class. We never got that when I was in high school. It's like, I don't care about the periodic table. I don't want to get audited.
The 401k class, right?
Hey, what about the 401k class?
But also this generation now, they just do everything on their phone. Like they don't even go grocery shopping. It's Instacart, everything's on there. So to your point, like they haven't had to do anything. Just they press a button and someone does it for them.
So yeah, so you're speaking about the kids these days.
Kids these days?
Yeah.
Am I that old?
Yeah.
Oh, that old.
Have you found any of these kids on your lawn, and do you wish them to leave, Moms?
Every day, Peter, every day.
But, you know, it has existed as a problem for a long time. I'm sure I'm not the only person here who's had a roommate that could have used a course in showering 101.
True.
And you know what? ChatGPT can't tell you if you smell.
Right Right now, these are offered as extracurricular classes, not for credit. Pretty soon, they'll be granting degrees, right? Imagine all the proud parents watching their kids graduate with a summa cum laude in laundry studies.
I've taught my kids to do laundry, and I have them fold, I have them do everything, and I always say to them, I go, guys, it's not that I can't do it. I want you to learn how to do it. But the truth is, I really don't want to do it.
Exactly. And do you say that sitting in your armchair, flicking through the TV channels?
All the time.
It's very good for you. It's very good for you.
Guys, I could vacuum, but I want you to learn how to vacuum.
Call 1-888-WAIT-WAIT to play. We'll be back in a minute with more of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me from NPR.
You can't tackle life's big challenges if you let the little ones get you down. That's why each month Houston Matters sweats the small stuff. Send your Houstonian pet peeves to talk@houstonmatters.org. Then join us Monday morning at 9 on News 88.7.
Support comes from Scan Health Plan, a not-for-profit Medicare Advantage plan that has been dedicated to the health and independence of their members since 1977. More information at scanhealthplan.com.
It's more important than ever to stay informed. That's why Houston Public Media delivers well-researched news that's free for everyone.
And right now, your support helps make sure it stays that way. No subscription, no paywall, just news that's here when you need it.
Give today to keep yourself and your community informed, no matter what the future holds.
Make your donation now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Or call 888-909-0887.
I'm Anisha Rao. Older adults in assisted living and nursing homes want and need healthy sex lives, but support for this is not unanimous.
Sex isn't seen as a necessary element of quality of life. It's seen as unimportant and super high risk.
Why we need an intimacy revolution in residential elder care. Next time on Embodied.
Embodied, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations and Raymond James, a firm focused on transforming lives, businesses, and communities through tailored wealth management, banking, and capital market solutions. Disclosures at raymondjames.com. Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. And Workday. Workday is an AI platform for forward thinkers dedicated to transforming the way business leaders manage people and money today so they can transform tomorrow. Workday, moving business forever forward. From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. I'm Bill Curtis. We are playing this week with Maz Jobrani, Adam Felber, and Joyelle Nicole Johnson. And here we go to your host at the Wang Theater in Boston, Massachusetts, Peter Sagal.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody. Once again, it is time for the Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me Bluff the Listener game. Call 1-888-WAIT-WAIT to play our game on the air, or check out the pinned post on our Instagram page at WaitWaitNPR. Hi, you are on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Who's this?
This is Aaron Bird calling from Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa is a fabulous place. We're going there later this summer. What do you do there?
I am butcher's assistant.
You are a butcher's assistant? I mean, does a butcher's assistant stand there while the butcher reaches for tools like cleaver? You
know, sometimes, yes, but usually I take the pieces and arrange them on a tray for display, or I put them in a bag to be vacuum sealed or something like that.
It's like a puzzle. Aaron, it's nice to have you with us. You're going to play our game in which you have to tell truth from fiction. Bill, what is Aaron's topic?
Romance gone wrong.
A lot of things can go wrong during an attempted romantic gesture, a forgotten allergy, poorly worded card. To whom it may concern, happy anniversary. All Our panel is going to tell you about a well-intended moment between lovers gone awry. Pick the one who's telling the truth, and you'll win the waiter of your choice on your voicemail. Are you ready to play?
Yes, I am.
Here we go. Your first story comes from Adam Felber.
Despite their wealth, young tech millionaires Vikram Anand and Betty Wolski had a small Bay Area wedding. But last week, after the ceremony, Betty surprised Vic with a gigantic reception that pulled out all the stops. She flew 35 members of his family in from India and staged a party straight out of a Bollywood spectacular. A tent festooned with 5,000 marigolds, a 20-piece swing band, and made her grand entrance on an elephant, which is when things went wrong. Bettina turned out to be an amateur mahout at best, and the elephant she'd rented was a rescued circus performer whose one trick turned out to be picking up performers with her trunk, which she promptly did as Betty attempted to dismount and then attempted to do the same to several other bridesmaids before fleeing with her trainer, knocking down 2 poles, causing the massive tent to collapse on the entire party. Vikram, for his part, was philosophical. Quote, "She didn't really stage an accurate Indian wedding party, but the way it ended in total disaster like that? For my family, that was right on point."
A trained elephant at a wedding does what it was trained to do and ruins the wedding. Your next red-hot mess comes from Joyelle Nicole Johnson.
Nothing says I love you like a bed covered in rose petals,
ready
diamond
to turn
bracelets, or potato chips. This week, news broke worldwide about a husband named Johnny who tried to surprise his wife Rachel with a romantic gesture.
And then turn left.
He loves her, and she loves chips. So, for her birthday, he took her to exotic Blackpool, Lancashire, and asked the hotel staff to cover the bed in 30 bags of assorted potato chips for his crisp-loving battle axe. He assumed they knew he meant to keep the chips in the bag. However, a confused staffer who must have thought they had some type of fetish misunderstood the request and opened the bags of chips and poured them all over the bed. Upon entering the room, Rachel thought they were the victims of a cartoonish break-in. As she ate a few of the chips off the bed, he sheepishly explained his intention, and they got one of the best laughs of their relationship. And Johnny learned a valuable lesson when making a request to never assume clarity, because when you assume, you make an ass out of you, me, and the hotel staff.
A romantic evening ends in an unexpected crunch on a bed of chips. Your last I love you snafu comes from Maz Jobrani.
Thaddeus Johnson from Melbourne, Australia, decided to surprise his wife for her birthday by hiring a Bee Gees cover band to serenade her with her favorite songs. But once the band started singing, Johnson quickly realized that the spelling of the band's name, B-E-J-E-E-Z, Bee Gees, meant they were a Christian Bee Gees cover band who changed the lyrics of Bee Gees songs to make them more, quote, Jesus-y. Johnson said, "I knew something was off when they started singing, he's alive, he's alive." I'm like, who's alive? What are they talking about? Johnson's wife was confused at first. Was he trying to romance her or convert her? Not sure how to react, she asked herself, what would Jesus do? So she took her glass of water and turned it into wine and sat back to enjoy the rest of the performance.
All right, let's review your choices. Was it from Adam Felber, an elephant hired for a traditional Indian wedding turned out to be trained in the wrong way? From Joyelle Nicole Johnson, somebody who wanted to celebrate their wedding or their romantic evening with their wife's favorite snack, chips, ended up lying down in a bed filled with them. Or from Maz Jobrani, an Australian couple gets their romantic evening ruined when the Bee Gees cover band turns out to be a Christian Bee Gees cover band.
Get ready to turn right.
I'm gonna have to say the second.
Turn right.
You're gonna have to say the second one. That would be Joyelle's story, if I'm not mistaken. Joyelle's story, is that the one you're picking? All right. The audience agrees. Let's hear from someone who was involved in the real story.
as I was hysterically laughing, walking around the bed, tasting the crisp. Eventually, I calmed down and rung the reception to come in and remove the crisp off the bed.
That was Rachel Norman, the chip-loving wife herself, telling the Black Gazette all about her, as they say over there, crisp-covered bed. You were correct. Joyelle was telling the truth. You have won a point for her simply for being convincing. And of course, you've won our game. Congratulations, and thank you so much for playing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye-bye. And now the game where we ask legends about things that nobody has ever heard of. It's called Not My Job. From 1939 to 1985, only 3 Boston Red Sox players regularly started in left field in front of the Green Monster at Fenway. First, Hall of Famer Ted Williams. Then, Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski.
Drive safe.
And then finally, Hall of Famer Jim Rice, who in his career
exit now
led the Sox to 2 American League pennants and won the American League MVP among many other honors. Jim Rice, welcome to Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Thank you.
at the roundabout. Take the second step.
So I am thrilled to see you. Everybody here is thrilled to see you, and I was delighted to discover that you came to Boston to play in 1975, and you still live here. You never left. Yes. You never left. And
exit now.
When is the last time that you had to pay for your own drink in a bar?
Well, I don't drink, never have.
Okay.
I'm a sort of like a Pepsi Coke guy.
When's the last time you had to pay for your own Pepsi?
Probably today.
That's the NPR budget, sir.
Keep right.
Do you? I'm assuming you get. Well, of course, you're also on TV, helping to broadcast Red Sox games. So I'm assuming you get recognized.
Exit right.
Yes, this is a very sports-minded city, regardless of playing baseball, football, but they know who you are.
We hear about Boston. I am one. A Boston Red Sox fan. The we can be a little
go
abrasive.
straight on.
Does anybody ever give you grief for anything, or are you way beyond that?
No. When I first got here, being from the South, I was brought up that you speak to everyone as you walking down the streets and things like that. And someone stopped me and said, "We don't do that here." So it was hard for me to make that adjustment, being a Southern guy and being hospitable and things like this. We don't speak.
You came up here and you had manners, and they're like, "That's not what we do in Boston."
That was it.
So, Jim, you played in front of the Green Monster at Fenway. For people who don't know, that's this very high, close-in wall that makes left field in Fenway particularly hard to play. Did you just enjoy yourself when opposing teams would go out there and watch them screw it up?
We did, but as a player, this is like your house. The time we hit the ball, we knew we had a chance to get a double. Now, an opposing team, they didn't have any idea how good I was. They would get a single.
So this would happen, right? I mean, it happens sometimes to this day that an opposing player will hit the ball high off the wall. That's a hard hit ball. They're like, "I'm taking 2, easy." And the next thing you know, you've got it in to second base before they're even rounding.
Well, we had a team the other day, I guess they called themselves Mets, I believe.
I've heard of them.
And there was a guy, Soto, making all this dough, and he hit one out. He stood there and he tried to style a little bit.
Yeah, he was admiring his shot. Yeah.
And it didn't work out pretty good.
No, because it's a really high wall.
Exit left.
It really is. You are in the Baseball Hall of Fame, a rare and extraordinary achievement. You were elected in your last year of eligibility, 15th year.
I got in my last year.
Yeah. And what were you doing when you got the call?
Well, do I have to say it?
I believe you do.
Okay. My mom and I, she was at General Hospital, and I was at General Hospital, Young and the Restless. And so, no, I'm serious. And so, my whole career, I watched Young and the Restless. So when I got the call, I was watching Young and the Restless. And I was asked, well, you just made it to the Hall of Fame. I said, look, I'm looking at the Young and the Restless. Call me back later. I swear to God.
Really? Good for you. And it seemed like they called you and they said, "Mr. Rice, I'm calling from Cooperstown." And you're like, "Wait a minute, it just turned out that's not Denise. It's Denise's evil twin. I'll call you back."
Well, I knew that because they said if you get in the Hall of Fame, they'll call you at a certain time.
Right.
Don't bother me at 12:30. 12:30 to 1:30? No. And
they couldn't wait for Bold and Beautiful.
Well, believe it or not, Young and the Restless is much better than Bold and Beautiful.
Oh, I believe it.
You go from the Young and the Restless to the Bold and the Beautiful, or vice versa. And so, if you watch the guy named is Victor, and I have it on my phone.
Oh, he's a very famous actor who did this role for me.
I have it on my phone, and he called me and he said, Jim, I know you watched the Young and the Restless. Congratulations, you're in the Hall of Fame.
So you got a call from Victor?
I have it on the phone.
That's amazing.
Great.
That's amazing. But you said that you watched it your whole career.
Yeah.
So what did you do during like day games? It's like, Jim, you're up. You're like, no, my stories are wrong.
No. You could have it taped, but a good friend of mine, Bob Montgomery, which was behind Carlton Fisk, he played golf a lot, and he asked me one day, he said, why do we always have to play golf and be back before 12:30?
Really?
Yeah. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, and I didn't really have lunch because I was very nervous. I was so antsy about the game, so I didn't really. And so that was my downtime to watch Young and the Restless.
Have you ever thought of doing a walk-on?
I thought about that, but I'm too. Like, yeah, my hands are sweaty now by being up here. I can play in front of a crowd, but this here is terrifying.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I'm sweating. Wow. Because I'm not accustomed to this.
You're not accustomed to the sitting in. Well, yeah.
I got a quick question too. That I never had a chance to talk to Hall of Fame hitter. You guys, it's about what, less than a second to decide to hit the ball. So can you talk us through the mechanics of when you decide to swing and don't, and like how does that work?
See ball, hit ball. See ball, hit ball.
See ball, hit ball.
And that, ladies and gentlemen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we called analytics back in the day. Well, Jim Rice, it is an absolute thrill for me personally to talk to you. And we have invited you here to play a game that this time we're calling
Watch Out for These Green Monsters.
So as we said, you're one of 3 Hall of Famers so far to play in front of the Green Monster in Fenway Park. So we're going to ask you about actual monsters that are green. Answer 2 to 3 correctly, you'll win a prize from one of our listeners. Bill, who is the legendary Jim Rice playing?
Colton Johnson of Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
You got this.
Here's your first question. The very green Incredible Hulk has been smashing things since his appearance in the comics in 1962, but one of his most exciting adventures happened in the 1990s, which saw the Incredible Hulk taking on what enemy? A, 100 baby ducks. B, the boy band New Kids on the Block. Or C, Marvel's quarterly financial report and future projected earnings.
C question, answer question.
Exactly. Number 3. You're right.
Yeah.
It was the Marvel annual report, which was printed that year as a comic book, in which the Hulk discussed publishing revenues with stockholders. Here's your next question. That's very good. In Dr. Seuss's book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Grinch is shown in black and white. And the Grinch only became green for the animated TV version. How did animator Chuck Jones decide the Grinch should be that shade of green? A, it happens to be the exact same shade as stomach bile. B, it was the same color as the really ugly rental car he took to meet Dr. Seuss. Or C, his ink supplier was having a sale on that shade the week they went into production.
I'll go with C.
You're going to go with C. His ink supplier was having a make him green, it's cheated. No, it was actually the color of the rental car. Nonetheless, I mean, you're used to this. You get a couple of chances to get a hit. Okay. Here's your last question. Sesame Street's green monster, Oscar the Grouch, has been living for decades in a trash can that never gets emptied, which is a good thing because which of these, according to Sesame Street lore, is in that trash can? A, 3 tons of Big Bird guano. B, 17 elephants, a bowling alley, a skating rink, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Or C, 36 human bones.
B.
And ladies and gentlemen, he hits it out of the park. Yeah. It is B. Oscar's trash can, canonically, is bigger on the inside than is on the outside. Bill, how did Jim Rice do in our little game?
2 out of 3 Hall of Famer. That's a win.
That's just, now I want the fans to come running onto the field.
Only thing that I really want to say and can say that I really enjoyed is, but my hands are sweaty.
Should have worn your batting gloves. Jim Rice is a baseball Hall of Famer. He spent his whole career playing for the Boston Red Sox and will never pay for his own soda in Boston. Jim Rice, thank you so much for joining us. What an absolute honor to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. Jim Rice, ladies and gentlemen.
Bright, shiny day.
In just a minute, get a whiff of Bill. He's got the scent of summer in our Listener Limerick Challenge. Call 1-888-WAIT-WAIT to join us in the air. We'll be back in a minute with more of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me from NPR.
It's one thing to love public radio, but it's a special thing to support it. Consider this. If you've got a car you don't need anymore, or you've got one that's simply too expensive to repair, you can arrange to donate it to Houston Public Media. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. It's easy for you, pickup is free, and it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
Houston Public Media brings to you PBS World. Experience the personal connection behind the headlines with programming devoted to telling stories that humanize complex issues. PBS World on TV 8.6 and online at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Support comes from the Dan L. Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center, offering comprehensive cancer care that is compassionate, personalized, and driven by clinical research. More at stlukeshealth.org/cancer.
Houston Public Media exists for those in our community in Southeast Texas. We appreciate our visionary supporters for enabling us to be the essential source for independent journalism and programs that inform, inspire, and engage all Houstonians. Jenny and Mike Conway, Judith and Mark Cook, Carolyn and Platt Davis, Janice and George Fleming, Amanda and Morris Gelb, Maria and Rex Gray, and Cynthia Holliday. Thank you.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations and Indeed, committed to giving job listings increased visibility with relevant candidates through its sponsored jobs feature. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR. BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy and helping clients find balance. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists for online therapy from anywhere at BetterHelp.com/public. And Proven Winners, with Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs, offering hydrangeas, lilacs, evergreens, and more. Their full collection is at ProvenWinnersColorChoice.com/NPR. From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. I'm Bill Curtis. We're playing this week with Adam Felber, Maz Jobrani, and Joyelle Nicole Johnson. And here again is your host at the Wang Theater in Boston, Massachusetts, Peter Sagal.
Thank you, Bill. In just a minute, Bill gets loose-lipped with some limericks. If you'd like to play, give us a call at 1-888-WAIT-WAIT. That's 1-888-924-8924. Right now, panel, some more questions for you from the week's news. Joyelle, a rehearsal dinner for a wedding in Canada took a surprising turn after the bride unexpectedly did what?
Oh, did she throw a drink in her husband's face?
She did not.
Caution, please mind speed.
This is actually, it's a hint and it's true. Right after she did this, a fake detective burst in and said, she's been poisoned.
A fake detective? Was she stripping?
How would that make one thing poison? So I said fake detective, and you went right to like fake cop who comes in and strips.
Absolutely.
Right.
Give her husband a thrill. Let him know why he's marrying her. I don't know the answer.
You know the answer. I'll throw it open. Does anybody know?
She pretended to kill him, like die.
Keep left.
And the fake detective comes in and goes, she's been poisoned.
Right.
And then she gets up and goes, no,
exactly
I wasn't.
Right.
I'm getting
no,
married.
Because what she decided to do was, without telling anyone, to change her rehearsal dinner into a murder mystery dinner party.
Oh, my God.
So she didn't collapse?
No, she didn't. She pretended to. Because you know what they say about weddings? Something borrowed, something blue, something to give your mother a coronet.
Listen, I'm Iranian, and I don't think, like, if I did that, my parents would kill me.
Right. And then it would be a real, well, it wouldn't be, I was going to say it's a real murder mystery, but it wouldn't be because they know it's your parents.
Yeah, I mean, what mystery? What, you're acting? You're not, you didn't die? Die! Die!
All the money they spent.
Yeah, you almost gave me a heart attack. You should die.
So people freaked out. The groom, of course, who did not know this was going to happen, was totally stunned, but in a second gathered his wits, immediately rushed out to see if he could get his deposit for the reception back. Eventually, though, the crime was solved. They found the, quote, murderer. The wedding happened. It was perfect, and the newlyweds had a lovely first dance to the theme from Law and Order.
Keep left.
It's a short dance. Dum-dum.
Dum-dum. We're done.
Literally a two-step.
Adam, summer travel season is just about upon us, and to help you prepare, the New York Times published an explainer of the latest travel buzzwords. What is the fun, new, hip, ultra-current term for going for a walk?
Flagstoning.
No.
Perambulations.
No.
Constitutionals.
I'll give you a hint. Despite what it's called, you do not, in fact, need flippers and a mask.
Snorkeling.
Yes, it's called land snorkeling.
That, I would say fully a dozen things come to mind with the phrase land snorkeling that are not walking. I got to rifle through all those.
I know. Then down to walking. The term was coined by what must be the two most annoying people in Montana, and it does not refer, as you might think, to using your inhaler outside. No. Land snorkeling is when you think of a walk as you do snorkeling in the ocean. That is, you don't focus on your destination. You instead just think about what you can see, the sensation of being in an unfamiliar place, and the fact that everybody back in the boat is staring at your ass.
It sounds like these land snorkelers don't have jobs.
No, they're trying to be more mindful. People go for walks all the time.
Why don't they just say we're going for a walk and being mindful? Like, why do they got to give it a land snorkel? Like, I mean, if they had the snorkel in their mouth, that's one thing.
Other terms that are very big in traveling circles is, these are real, town sizing.
Which is?
Where you skip cities and you look for towns with their own words, right? Nope. Or JOMO, the joy of missing out. That's when you skip big fun places like Paris or Rio, and you embrace the experience of being stuck into an airport for a week.
I am JOMO.
You are?
You're bottled JOMO.
Meaning that you just sit around all day and just are thrilled at all the things you're not doing.
Yeah, I'm at that age when somebody cancels plans. I'm like, yes.
Coming up, it's Lightning Fill in the Blank, but first it's the game where you have to listen for the rhyme. If you'd like to play on air, call or leave a message at 1-888-WAIT-WAIT. That's 1-888-924-8924. Come see us most weeks at the Studebaker Theater in Chicago, or catch us on the road this summer. We'll be in Des Moines, Iowa, as I said, on July 10th, Salt Lake City on July 31st, and at Tanglewood in Western Massachusetts on August 28th. For tickets and more information about all our live shows, go to nprpresents.org. Hi, you're on Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Hi, my name is Keely, and I'm from Exeter, New Hampshire.
Oh, Exeter, New Hampshire, a beautiful place. What do you do there?
I run a small business out of my house named Breaker Bikes, where I mount balanced motorcycle tires.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, welcome to the show, Keely. Bill Curtis is going to read you 3 news-related limericks with a last word or phrase missing from each. If you can fill in that last word or phrase correctly into the limericks, you will be a winner. Here is your first limerick.
It has bristles above and beneath. With one swoop, there's a bright pearly wreath. Since I'm in a great rush, here's my double jaw brush. In one go, it cleans all of my
teeth.
Yes, teeth. Are you tired of spending as much as 2 full minutes of your life brushing each of your teeth? one by one? Well, you can cut that down to 30 seconds with the Pheno, a whole mouth at once electric toothbrush that Gizmodo calls, quote, the worst thing I have ever shoved in my mouth. So the thing, it looks like an enormous set of, I don't know, like braces or something, or a bite guard.
Like a dental guard, yeah.
Yeah, you put it in your face, and if you use this device at its highest setting, it makes your entire head rattle and rubs your teeth raw. But don't worry, while the Pheno hasn't been approved by the American Dental Association, it also hasn't yet been classified as torture by the International Criminal Court.
That sounds like having a mouth full of a giant angry caterpillar. I don't want that.
It's like wearing it's like a mouth guard, except it buzzes and scrapes at your teeth and makes you wonder what you did to deserve it. Here is your next limerick.
Mount Everest, we did surpass, because our breathing was smoother than glass. We raced like a phenom by puffing on xenon. We cheated by snorting some
Gas, yes. A group of British mountaineers made it from their homes in London to the top of Mount Everest and back home in under a week. And they did this by breathing xenon gas, right, to compensate for being at lower oxygen levels. And the climbing community is not happy with this hack. The Nepalese tourism department called the use of xenon, quote, against climbing ethics. And remember, these are people who are just fine with leaving corpses up there.
I want them to test it with all the different drugs.
All the different gases.
Yeah.
Just give them, inhale, and try inhaling this. See if you can climb Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Try some Molly and you'll just be touching Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Cuddling with Mount Everest.
Cuddling.
Smoke a J, you're just licking the snow.
This is new, and we don't know if there are any side effects from breathing that much xenon gas. To find out, we'll have to wait for the mountaineers to spring a leak and deflate.
Is there any other time in life besides Mount Everest that you would need xenon gas?
And where do you get xenon gas?
Right. Well, you get to the base of Mount Everest, and behind the yurt, there's a dealer.
Here is your last limerick.
From Montana to deep Texarkana, we all smell in a tropical manner. We all feel the appeal of Chiquita's blue seal. So the scent of the year is...
Banana?
Bananas! There's not just a song of the summer anymore. Now we have to endure a smell of the summer. And according to the New York Times Magazine, this year, the smell of the summer is banana. It's your time to shine, yellow Laffy Taffy.
This trend was invented by a very clever mosquito.
Exactly.
Who gets to choose the fruit of the summer?
I don't know. Somebody out there is the person in charge. That's who does it, Maz.
Is he at a farmer's market?
I have no idea. Is it a fruit fly? Bill, how did Keely do on our quiz?
She got them all.
She did, yes.
Her up. All right.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Take care. Thanks for calling.
Thank you so much.
Lightning fill in the blank. Each of the players will have 60 seconds in which to answer as many fill in the blank questions as they can. Each correct answer is worth 2 points. Bill, can you give us the scores?
Everybody's got 2.
Oh my goodness. 2 points.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's do it this way.
Let's leave it right there.
We'll arbitrarily start with Maz, and we'll work our way across. Here we go. Maz, I'm choosing you to go first. Here we go. On Thursday, an appeals court reinstated President Trump's blanks.
Tariffs.
Right. On Monday, the Justice Department reached a deal that allows blank to avoid
Go
prosecution
straight on.
over crashes of their 737s.
Boeing.
Right. This week, the World Health Organization warned a new blank variant was on the rise.
COVID.
Right. According to a new report, global blanks will reach record highs over the next 5 years.
Weather. Heat. Yeah, temperature. Yeah.
This week, a man on a train in Germany had to be rescued by firefighters after he blanked.
After he got stuck in the bathroom.
Oh, so close. After he got stuck for 90 minutes behind a seat where he had gone to try to retrieve his fallen AirPods. On Wednesday, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Minnesota Timberwolves to move on to the blank finals.
NBA.
Right. This week, an AI company was surprised when the AI program blanked to prevent itself from being turned off.
It blanked. It stayed on.
No, it tried to blackmail the programmers.
Ha!
This company with an AI assistant gave the AI this information, and it said that, oh, we're about to turn you off, and also, you know, the programmer who's about to do it is having an affair. And sure enough, the AI assistant started saying, man, wouldn't it be awful if your wife found out about Becky down in HR?
What?
It's true.
Okay, new fear unlocked.
Yep.
Bill, how did Maz do in our quiz?
5 right, 10 more points, total of 12. Maz goes into the lead.
Next up, Joyelle, I'm picking you. Here we go. Fill in the blank. On Wednesday, billionaire blank said he was leaving the Trump administration.
Ugh, Elon Musk.
Right. On Monday, New York congressman and co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus blank passed away at the age of 94.
Oh, Charles Rangel?
Yes, you got it, Charlie Rangel. This week, the Department of Health and Human Services terminated the contract with Moderna to develop a vaccine for blank flu.
Burr.
Right. On Tuesday, Texas passed a law requiring Apple's App Store to verify users'
Caution,
blanks.
please mind the speed limit.
Ages. After a wild bobcat wandered into a home in Colorado, police tried to get it out using blanks.
Banana peels.
No, laser pointers.
Did it work?
It didn't work. On Monday, Iranian director Jafar Panahi was awarded the top prize at the Blank Film Festival.
The Iranian Film Festival.
No, the Cannes Film Festival. This week, a family in Denver said they are considering selling their house because once every 3 months, someone blanks.
Pretends to pass out so they can play a murder mystery.
No! Someone crashes their car into it. The problem is that the family lives right at a very sharp turn in the road, and drivers have trouble seeing that the road is suddenly curving and just speed right into the house. Despite numerous complaints from the family, the city just hasn't done anything to increase visibility of this turn. And I can't tell if officials are being spiteful about the complaints, but the speed limit is now 250 miles an hour. Bill, how did Joyelle do it?
Joyelle got 3 right, 6 more points, total of 8. Means Maz is holding on.
And how many then does Adam Felber need to win?
5 to tie and 6 to win.
Ooh, that's a high hill to climb.
Here we go, Adam. This is for the game. After saying that Vladimir Putin was playing with fire, the White House announced it was considering new sanctions against blank.
Russia.
Right. On Thursday, Israel announced a major expansion of their settlements in the blank.
West Bank.
Right. As part of an ongoing retaliation against the school, the State Department said they were reviewing the visas of anyone associated with blank university. Harvard. On Wednesday, the third Liberty administration does. According to a new report, regularly taking blank supplements can slow the aging process.
Iron.
Vitamin D, this week in the box office, had its biggest Memorial Day ever thanks to the latest movie in the blank franchise.
Mission Impossible.
Right. This week, a programmer created a website that allows people who track their runs in the Strava app to blank.
Change the data.
No, to lie about the runs they do. If you're tired